Thank you very much for the introduction. And again, I would like to repeat our thanks. On behalf of the Architectural Association Graduate School, I would like to thank INTA for organizing this once again, and for the support of NCTU's EcoCity institution program, and of course most especially for the hospitality of the wonderful city of Kaohsiung. It's again a delight to be here and to have this opportunity to talk with you. I also want to thank the chairman of the previous session, Pedro Ortiz, for organizing a very lively discussion in the first session, and I think it's useful to pick up some themes from that discussion as we move towards the second roundtable, because one of the things that we have wanted to do was to ensure that there is a continuing discussion amongst the many topics. There are some themes that I think are very important that we'll want to carry forward. We have spoken about Kaohsiung being a city that is changing from basic industries to a city that is entering the knowledge economy, and there are higher value-added components then to the industries that will define Kaohsiung in the future. But I think one of the very important things to understand about that is that the new cultural industries will be rooted in the existing culture that is here. We all recognize that there is a culture of expertise, of shared learning that is really based in the patterns of work in the industries that are here. And so when we speak of culture and cultural industries, we're talking about two different kinds of things that are both very important. One is that there is a culture of production, there's a culture of industrial networks that is what links the communities of shared knowledge in this city and in this region. And that's what you're trying to activate when you move forward into a larger metropolis. The other thing is that there are new industries that are emerging as being very important growth areas in the new economy. And these we often call the creative industries, and they involve everything from animation to advertising to textiles and garment and fashion production to many other areas of new media and so on. Now, what I think is very important to understand is that these are industries. They are networks. It's not simply a matter of going to the opera. It's not simply a matter of locating some artists in some adapted sheds in a disused industrial building. It's really about growing the next generation of industries that make use of the full complement of creativity in designing and creating products for a rapidly changing society. Now, one of the core understandings that we have is that all of our industries are moving in the direction of being creative and service-oriented. When you look at your integrated circuits and optoelectronics industries, these are industries that are organized to serve a rapidly evolving set of customers in complex industries. When we talk about a music industry, for example, a music industry now links very closely, not just musician to musician, but links people in the music industry from performance to digitalization to streaming, and of course then you see that music and software development are closely linked. So what we're trying to capture are the synergies that are there in a knowledge economy between all of your basic industries, from optoelectronics and integrated circuits, manufacturing and so on, and the way in which they are linked through a service-oriented ethos. Now, the implications of that is that in our future cities, we will want to have, and I think Arthur Al pointed this out very nicely in the first session, we want to make sure we have cities that support this kind of network building through a very effective morphology and a very effective mobility system. We want to tie these together, and I think this is where Gordon Falconer was so important this morning, We want to tie this together through a very well-developed communications infrastructure. Now, if we ask ourselves what the role of architecture then is in this process of urban development, it is a process that is not just about deciding what kind of economy we will have and then using architects to build a pretty building at the end. In fact, we use architects to help us understand the relationship between the hardware of the city, the buildings of the city, and the software of the city, the ways that we are changing in our patterns, our cultural patterns, our activity patterns, our networks of human learning. So one of the things that we will be doing now in this session is trying to understand the challenge that we face as one of creating the urban areas that are highly mobile, well-networked, that involve a micro-mobility system that ties together people into very active communities, but that also supports those communities through the integration of residential living and civic environments, learning spaces, around an idea that this is a highly networked, productive, workspace-driven economy. So with these understandings in mind, I think you can start to see the connections between some of the discussions of the first session and our two speakers who will now be talking about the questions of mobility and the development of new mobility systems and patterns. And then we will follow that with a discussion of trends in the direction of housing and the development of civic infrastructure as a way of thinking about next generation innovation environments. So with that, I would like to turn this over now to Dominic Laus from RITP, who is an expert in understanding the future of mobility systems. Dominic.